Welcome to our podcast, Barefoot Heart Podcast. Today we wanted to introduce you, Yoshile Soul, and the work you do by guiding families, finding the right educational path for their families, and how you came to that, and your own experience and your background. So, um, we know each other since many years. We've met again after a couple of years, and it's always has been about sharing about our kids and the education path we chose. And yeah, so I really wanted to know what happened all these years we didn't see each other because I heard you traveled a lot. You've tried a lot of different educational um, styles, if I can say so. You met so many families, so many different um, alternative schools. Um, that I think it's a very interesting experience you have for your own family, but also for other families. So yeah, if you would like to share more about that.
Yes, thank you so much for having me here. And I really love to share that because I think it is story by story we hear from other families. We can see all the opportunities we have for our own family. So I think it's very important that everyone starts sharing more their own experience and yeah, to find their own path. Because what I learned definitely is that every family is so individual, each parent and each kid. So if you have one and more than one, it really depends like on the numbers you have. Like if you have 4 kids, you have maybe even 4 completely different needs when it comes to education. And I, yeah, could see on our journey that like the last time we met, like about 10 years ago. And then we did like a slow travel experience after that, but not because we chose it, but because we always went to see a different educational style and try it out. And they are unfortunately not all at the same place. And you can just say, okay, we live here in our cute house, and then we'll go to this one and to this one, and we try them all. No, they are like all over the world, but just like really, okay, 10 hours south is the next one. And it's like, oh, okay, so let's move there and give it a try. Or let's see it first, of course. And let's really yeah, think about, does it make sense for our kids? But yeah, when it comes to my own experience, it has been always the most important that our kids can be free and can learn at their own pace, because I could see right from the start at a very nice creative school from the outside, very sustainable and lovely. Really, it looked perfect from the outside and also from the inside. But then yeah, my daughter was there from she was only 2 years old, 3 years old, and in Spain was that, and that is called already a school at that age.
Yeah.
So that school actually started at 1 years old, so and went up until 18. And I could see a shift in her within 2 months, and I didn't understand why she is acting differently. Like she was very strict with me, with how I put the books, what's a toy to take now, how to put it back, and she was not enjoying anymore. And that was really one very eye-opening experience for me, that what you see from the outside is not the same as they might live. Because then I went in and talked to all the teacher, like not just the one teacher, also to the director, and try to find out what is different than I thought it would be like. And I found out that it was super strict. They had like a schedule for the 2-year-olds that said, at that time, you can play with the dolls. At that time, you can play with the clay. At that time, you can draw. So they were not even allowed to choose, but it was all natural materials. They had music and dancing and everything, but they were not allowed to choose whenever they want and feel the motivation. I want to play now with this. So Yeah, it took about half a year after she, like, I took her out in that moment, and then it took like half a year that she came back to her normal senses, like really like to feel what she likes, what she wants. So that was one of the most important experience that always kept me uh connected with my heart in a way that I know also when I talk to many adults, and many adults say it is so important to offer a good education and the best school. And sometimes it got me thinking, like, am I really doing the right thing when I'm just giving them the free choice? And now my kids are older and I can see that it was the right thing, but I had so many doubts about that. And yeah, I can just really prove also in all of my experience with other families I met at World School Hubs, and yeah, let's say international bubbles abroad, different families from all over the world. And they, like, each one of them has their own journey, very individual. And I can see that the kids are mainly thriving. Like, of course, sometimes it's also not the best environment, maybe that for them, because some kids need stability, need a routine, and are even suffering when they have to speak another language, when they are separated from their family, because maybe they have been raised already for many years with the grandparents next door, with the uncle and aunt and cousins and whatever, and then they are taken out of that yeah routine and safe out, even if they loved it, and then they are just placed in a different culture that they do not really get along with, and then in a free style of learning, like now you could choose, but they are so used to being told what to learn next, so they do not want to change that in that moment, and they do not want to leave their friends at a certain age. So I could really see also many families, like really many families with kids that are more suffering with an alternative educational style, especially when you choose it that late for them. So,
Yeah.
but of course, if they suffer, then they thrive. Then when they get out of that, let's say, a normal educational style form, and they are freed, kind of, and they really suffered before, then they
Yeah.
can breathe, and then they can adapt to that easily. But if they have not suffered at all, maybe even like just a little bit, then they and they couldn't choose it because only the parents chose it. It's also a different
Yeah, no.
thing.
And I think it's a lot of, like you mentioned, questioning yourself. I think so many families are going through that. And so it's so important to have families that have been through that for many years and, have reached a point where now they found their path and, made the experience know more clearly what they do and feel is the right thing to share the experience. Because when you're starting and usually what I encounter a lot talking with families, they're looking for a little bit of alternative um, pre-educational styles is that they're almost always alone. Like they don't have support. Most of them, families or friends around them are not in that um, environment, so they don't really understand it. They probably add to their worries about going that route, and so a lot of families are also afraid about that. Like they don't get that support, so they need to connect to others that are doing that or did it for a lot of years. So it really helps to share those experiences and yeah, like you said, there can be so many different families and kids and situations, and it's a very complex topics, but because there's so many things to take into account. And yes, like you say, when you start, ages and environment and moving around can be can be stressful. And something, for example, in my own childhood, um, I've never been into alternative education. I was going to traditional schools, but because of my parents' work, we were moving across the world. So every 2, 3 years, we were changing countries. And now that I reflect on it as an adult, I think that was on one side an amazing experience. It really, I think, culture, knowing other cultures, other people, other countries, just going out of your comfort zone and your what you know and what's safe to you is so important to open up your mind to make you see what can be done in the world and to feel yeah, just open to the whole world. So that was amazing. Just opportunities to just travel and learn new languages, encounter different new people and cultures. But what I personally felt is that when I started to be around, well, teenage age, then it was harder because yeah, you have to live. Before that is like my family is like the most important. You don't really care that much about moving around. You make very quickly other friends, and that works well. But at some point, you really create deep relationships with friends, and that was complicated. And also for a kid that is older to join a new school or a new place and make start those connections again, it can be difficult. So I don't know how you lived that situation when your kids became older, but I know that can also be a challenge. And so it's like I guess there's no perfect path anyway. There are pros and cons, and each family needs to kind of find what has more pros than cons and go that way. Um, because all paths will have their bad side to it.
Yeah, thank you for that. Sharing that. I think that is a really important topic, that kids stop being that sponges that can adapt and can just get like talk a new language within 2 weeks, or like this is really like a fairy tale in my point of view. What I experienced is not that easy. It is maybe until the age of 4 or 5, when they're really young and they do not even talk that much yet with each other, and then they play without almost talking with each other. But then it starts already to become a challenge, and especially if a child is blocking to a new culture, or to that move that the family did, or to the decision in general to be in that country. It can take years, and they don't even they do not learn the new language because they are blocking it inside of themselves, so it's not possible for them. And I think the older they are, the more they have to be invited into the decision making, because it is also their life, and they live most of the time maybe even more conscious than adults, because they are more connected to who I am, like to all of that question. Like they really want to know and discover themselves, right? Like also like what do I really like? Who I feel safe with around, like, and who gives me energy? What drains my energy? And I hope that most of the teenagers really do that work, because it's so important as like the foundation of your adult life to go through that phase. And if you are always disconnected again to what you really like, the environment, you just checked everything out, and then you're like, put into a different spot. It is difficult, and I do not see I have not seen yet one teenager thriving with that moving around situation. I really know many families, many stories that are having a base country, or like a home base, and best even the same house, the same flat, and then they move like for 3 months, even up to 3 months. It's like about the golden border, where you still feel like it's traveling, it's a new experience, but then I come home again. If you leave for half a year, it's already you can't connect. But the others, they live on, you know, like they deepen the relationship, they change the relationship, then you come back again, and it's like, oh, now you are here again. Like, how do we get you into the puzzle? So it's really difficult for teenagers to keep a relationship strong. Some traveling families now use the modern technologies like yeah, that they connect with games or with apps, and they do video calls, and that really can work out. I could see it, but it's not really ideal.
It's
I
like
think we all know
modern version of letter exchanging.
yes,
Like we
but
in the past,
it's
but
even deeper. Like you can
yeah,
really share deep stories on a phone call, on a video call. I think it is one way, but it is also something you get used to. I think, like I still then used to have a real life connection, and I think it is, if you are in a situation as a family and able to choose one home base, that is also what we have figured out for ourselves, that from the age of about 10 to 12 latest, to have a home base and then stay there the whole teenage years. And then you can still travel from that place, but this is the place to be. This is where they can form their closer relationships, and that is really difficult if you are, for example, choosing an international world school bubble, because we also made that experience that you can't live there all year long, but the people come and go. So you make the close connections, and then they're gone to Mexico, to Israel, to Japan, to like, and you really couldn't even visit them all like in one holidays or something. So that is really something that you have to consider. I think if you choose your home base, like, is it a stable environment also, or and also to commit with your bubble? Like, do we all want to raise our teenagers here together? I think um there is this saying that teenagers are again almost like 3-year olds again, like from the care we have to give them, because we really can guide them a lot in that phase. Like, even if they do not want us that much maybe anymore, but in the moment they want us. And if we are there for them, especially by creating the environment, the safe environment for them, that they have another adult to go to, not just the two parents, also like an aunt or uncle kind of relationship, that they can really talk to someone else, maybe even about the relationship to their parents, and becoming an adult, like slowly. It is a big shift, and it is easier in a strong community.
yeah, I hear that a lot about families that are traveling or moving for different reasons, for coming to an alternative place, or because of work or whatever. That's really what they a lot are looking for, is to, create that community. So basically they know they are, you know, taking the kids away from what they have known, and their safe space in their um city or country they have known their whole life, for example. So they're trying to find other like-minded people and do that together, because it's just easier to do it all together for the kids, but also for the adults. And I guess especially when the kids are getting older. So that's something we hear a lot about families. Like, is there like a community of families already? Like, are they all living more or less close to each other? Are they really looking for that? Not just dropping the kids and getting them, but really creating that community and connection with the family. And I think that's like a modern way to solve the issues brought by wanting to. It's like um now that borders, now it's a while, but borders are open, that people can travel more easily, that people in general have been more open to traveling and moving, working online and things like that. Other new challenges arise.
Yeah.
Like what you mentioned, like the connection, the security, the routine, the thing like that. So it's like, and some solutions to that are now being created, like doing it as a community and things like that. But I think what you said about having like a core base or like um a main location where you are most of the time, where you have your base, and the kids know it's your home, and you always go back to that. And then traveling or doing trips, I think is very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's also even more important in my experience now overall to have that base, even if it's not perfect. So for us, it has been that we traveled a lot and we experienced amazing projects. Some of them closed, some of them changed. So we were like, oh, let's look for another project that is might be a better fit. Also, some of them were only up until 12 years old. Or up until 10. And then anyway, there was the natural need to find a new project or educational yeah, many types also schools, like a very formal way, but inside maybe differently handled. That is also another thing. Like you can have a school that is calling themselves schools, and it is also everything very official, even in a country where you have the laws that you need to complete, or like
Yeah.
yeah,
School years and
yeah, because otherwise you might, yeah, not be able to raise your kids anymore. In some countries, it's that strict, and in other countries, it is anyway. Like everyone can raise and educate their kids the way they want, and they think is the best for them. So if you have that, and it can be inside handled very differently. So I also experienced that for example, a Waldorf school can call itself very free and going with the pace of the kids, but then inside it is handled very strict, and it is just going with the routine. And then you sit in front of a wall. What happened really to us with 40 pictures of a red circle, and they still tell us this is how they individually express themselves. And we ask ourselves, like, but they all have to use red and they all have to draw a circle, but they are allowed to make it a bit bigger or smaller. And that is the way they're allowed to express their individuality. And that is their opinion about how to express it. But my opinion and my meaning of that is different. So you really can check out that how, like if you talk to projects or schools, like how do you mean that? You know, like you can have the phrases and you think this sounds amazing, and then you're inside and you're like, this is not what I expected at all. Like, yeah. So it's really um differently, or you go to a school that is really from the outside a complete normal public school model almost, and then you go inside and you're like, but where are the classes, where are the tables, where are the you know, it's like everything handled differently, and they're like, yeah, this is just the way how we do it. And like the paperwork outside is all correct, but inside we do it this way. We prefer that, and the kids even learn more. And it's like, okay, that's amazing. So it's unfortunately not that easy, therefore, to find the right project. But it all starts with some questions about your child and about yourself to really see where is our buffer, where can we also find the middle. Because if one parent thinks only one is enough already, the other one can think something completely different. But if one parent thinks there is no way my child would learn without a system, without guidance, then you can't just choose a complete free school, because then this parent would suffer so much, would also put all of that energy, like frequency energy into like and worrying, and like really the child would suffer too.
Yeah.
Even if it would maybe thrive in that environment normally, but if it has a parent who loves this child and is really worried about the child, that doesn't work out. And the other way around also not. Like if a child really needs structure and everything, but the parent is like, but I would have thrived in a complete free environment. But it's like, yeah, but you are not your child. Like your child might be the complete opposite, unfortunately, sometimes. So you can't really just go from your own experiences and put them onto your child, because that is sometimes what happens, right? That we think, but I would have suffered in that situation, so I think you too, right? But maybe your child is just thriving, and you can even see it, and you're like, but that doesn't make sense because I would have suffered in that situation, you know?
Yeah, it's so complex.
It is so complex.
And
And then on top comes media, like movies, stories, everything that children hear, especially from the age of 6 years old, is usually about schools. Like every child in that stories is going to schools, and actually it is in the world like that, that 80 to 90% of all children go to a public school system in a form, and even another 15% are not attending any form of education. So it's like we are like
Five-
are there even 5% or like even less who are choosing alternative education models? But we can also see that some countries even already adapt with their public school system to the new, let's say, new education forms that is more project based and child-led, and like Finland is always the best example for that. Like these kids are having the best education in the world, and they have no pressure. They have project-based learning and no grades. And I just believe we are allowed to look at these great examples and just adapt some things.
exactly. That's something that would be the best solution. That the whole education system reforms. Like it's been so old
Yeah, it's like
and not
the
changing.
cars have changed so much, and like so many things have changed so much, but the school system
And
really,
it also made sense when school was created. And if you look at the story about,
yeah, yeah,
how school was created, it made sense at that time, where we needed to have like everybody learn the same thing and do the same thing at the same ages and have that. But today it doesn't make same sense anymore.
yeah,
That the school is not adapting. And for everybody, it would be much easier if the school in general would be um, reformed so that it would be easier for everybody to just have a school nearby that is most certainly also more respectful and alternative, and it supports more the children in their own path. That would be the easiest solution. But
yeah. That would be the easiest, maybe. Depending on and also a mind shift of the parents, because if they then still think if you receive this kind of education, then you are going to lose in life. Kind of like we always connect so much their education to their future. And that is really something I disconnected so much, because I think that a good self-esteem and a good knowledge about yourself, that is giving you the future you deserve, like not deserve, but to that is fulfilling you. Because I also know I know a doctor of in chemistry. I know um doctor for children, like a real doctor, and they both have made such a long career until they ended up in that job that they hated, and they were like my age, and then they were like, what do I do? Like I spent all of my adult life learning for this job, and now I'm here and I don't like this job. I can't do it anymore. And they ended up in burnout and changing completely their career path. And I mean, that's not really where we want our kids to end up, but that is where usually a public school system leads you a bit to, because you want to be the best, you want to do it alone, and you just want to go on, like no pause, no thinking about what you really need or want. And I think that really every child knows, and every person also, when we're honest. But as an adult, you might even get more filtered and distracted of what you really want. But we also know what we really want, what we're really good at. And I think if we would all just know that, then we could also have so much healthier and happier society. And
That's
also,
that's really something, the basis of what we do and what we learn as well from a democratic education in that case of philosophy, is that children are born good and with uh, the really the need or the want to learn and the curiosity.
Yeah.
And the only thing we have to do as adults is stay out of the way, basically,
Yeah.
Not even trying to help them, just stay out of the way, and they'll do like incredible. They'll find their own path. They'll do something that you might not want as a parent them,
Yeah.
to do. But that's not what's important. It's like, that they do something fulfilling, that they're happy with their life, they can support their own life, and find their own path. And you're just, supporting them on the side, but you don't need to guide them. They really know. And yeah, we as adults lose that, and so many adults, and I'm one of them. It's like you still don't know. Like I'm turning 40 soon, and I still don't know what I want to do with my life, basically. And I think that's because we were all put in a system that wants you to kind of all be the same, and we're not. And that's the beauty of it, is that we're all different.
You know what? I would even disagree on that, because I think we were born into a system that wants you to do the things that you are best at. But maybe this one doesn't fulfill you. For example, I was always very good at math. So every adult
Sure.
saw this number
Mm.
and said, wow, you have to do something with that.
Mm.
But it was not fulfilling for me at all. Like really, I'm just good with numbers, but I don't like to deal with numbers, like at all, really. It's just that like someone who is a good cook, like really like amazing, but is not enjoying the process, like of chopping and washing and like, uh, then don't do it. Then it's not your job just because you're good at something.
Yeah.
I think that is really the misguidance that we all have received. And then we also think, this is not effective enough. Then if I do something I'm not really good at, but I love to do it, then this is your thing. Like I believe that really everyone who's enjoying something so much that it gives you shivers, then like really the warm feeling in the belly, and you listen to that feeling, and this is your thing. And even if you're really bad at it, I think people will see your enthusiasm and your motivation and everything about it, and they will love it. And then you have to look at the numbers if it still makes sense. Okay, but
yeah, and you have to think you probably will do that for 20, 40 or more years. So if that's not something you're sure about or really like, then
But here comes another thing. What I learned on this whole journey that I have not chosen at all. Really, I just wanted to come. I wanted to move abroad and stay at one place, and that's it. And then I was happy enough that this school didn't work. They didn't do what they said. This one didn't do what they said. This one closed. Like that, we were always able to like really slow travel about every 2 years, changing the place, meeting completely new families, being in a new bubble, being connected to the culture, to the people who really live there since ever, being in a different place where we're almost only connected to international people, and like really living all of that, living for doing a work for 20, 30, 40 years. I experienced that, changing the projects and having a complete different, really, environment. Like sometimes 20 kids with one adult, in another place 5 kids with one adult. There were more sitting at desks. There were like, and really doing completely different things that opened up the world for my kids so much. Like they know now when I am at a place, and when there's an adult saying I'm the adult and that's why this is correct what I'm saying, they know that's not true. That's just your opinion. That's just the way you do it. But if I don't feel right with it, then I have the right to say that. And then I have the right to change that.
yeah.
and to talk to my caregivers about it, of course, but also to say it even in that moment, and to be allowed to raise your hand and say, this is not the way I'm used to that, and I don't like this way.
But I think that's a path that a lot of families choose, actually, is that they go in the early years, they're in alternative education with their kids to really build those strong foundations, their self-worth,
Hmm.
and then when they reach a certain age, it doesn't matter that much if they go back to a traditional strict school, because they're like, yeah, we know why you're doing that. We know you're saying that, but I know how I feel, and I'm gonna do anyway like that. But
Yeah.
they're doing it for the grades and for having, the certificates and everything for what they want to do. They have a vision of what they want to do, so
Yeah.
they know they have to go to that um in at the moment for the state system or getting a certificate. And so, but that's not, you're not worried anymore that much that it will really affect them as a person, because they already have that very strong foundation. So that's something, yeah, I hear a lot about. And yeah, I think the early years are more shaping
Yeah.
the kids, and that has an impact.
Yeah, I think you can see that also in the way how especially teenager uh keep up their shoulders, or like how they interact with other adults. Like if you have, like, for example, a family gathering or just with friends, and you all sit together, like others sitting like this and being numb kind of
Mm.
at the table, and no, I don't have a saying in anything at all anyway. Or are they like interacting and being there, like really, like knowing my voice counts. And I think also that is why I chose that work, also why I chose on top to work as a kids yoga teacher. That's even a lot longer already with World Kids Yoga, because I believe that when you build that strong foundation, and when even a child, like, let's say you end up choosing public school system because of all of your needs as a family, the public school next door is the best decision for you. You can still help your child to build that strong self-esteem, and to not listen to, yeah, I mean, it becomes really difficult if the teachers, if the grandparents, if the uncle and aunt, and also then their media. That also what I wanted to add before. Like if you see a movie and listen to stories that is all about, it's so important to have the best grades. It's so important to reach that, and you are tired, get up, get it together. Otherwise you're lazy. Like, oh my God, if you have all of that thoughts in your mind already as a young child, this will guide you through your teenage phase and through your adult life, maybe even until the very end. You still think like, ah, I don't feel well, but I'm lazy if I stay down. Like if you learn, I listen to my body, I give it rest when it needs rest, like then you do not get all the crazy illnesses, in my opinion, because then you really listen. Maybe even sometimes the body can't do something for 1 or 2 months, and then it heals itself, and then it's back on track. But if you just go through like and do things you even hate, like I mean, this is many times maybe even exactly the thing that makes you ill.
Yeah.
And so I think it's all connected, and it's so important to have the strong knowledge about your needs, and your also to know that it comes from thoughts, actually. Like all of your feelings come from the thoughts you have. And where do the thoughts come from? They form already when we're 3 years old. Some basic foundational thoughts we have about life come from the age when we're like 3 to 6, and then they stay. Like if we do not ever think about, uh maybe that is not true what I'm thinking here, like if we never revise these thoughts, like, is it really true what I'm thinking? Or does it come from that movie, or does it come from that thing that my grandma told me once? Or so, yeah, I think in the end it's all really difficult still up to date, unfortunately, to have your kid in a environment where it can just run around, go to the baker and say, "Show me that. I would love to do that. I would love to learn that. Like, show it to me." Or like, I would love to learn that. And or I tried that. Oh, that was a mistake. Okay, I will not repeat that. Or I will repeat it 3 times more. And then I learned, okay, now really, that was the last time. I won't do that again. Like to really be able to trust yourself, to make mistakes and to,
Exactly, to make mistakes, failure, that it's okay. That's how you learn and how you get through somewhere. Otherwise, you cannot just, be good at something immediately like this. You have to, and it's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. And there's a lot of, in general, a lot of pressure and expectation put upon, especially upon children.
and on
in their
parents,
environment.
and upon parents.
Well,
And I
yes.
think that is also something that we are all allowed to realize, that we are also allowed to make mistakes. We are allowed to choose the wrong education system in a moment. And then if we figure that out, we do not have to pretend, no, but it's still the best thing, because it costs a lot maybe to change, to go to that form. And maybe it's even worse than the one that you had before. And that you are allowed to make these mistakes, and that you are allowed to listen to your own feelings and thoughts also, and assumptions, and also like to see your kid. Is it thriving? Is it sitting like that? Is it talking about the things that they did this day or not? Like, are they really like, I don't know, I don't remember anything. Like, I do not even want to remember because it was so awful. Then that's a bad sign. Then you can think about, yeah, really, has it been the best choice? Or like, I mean, does it even have to be the best choice? But in my opinion, everyone who just give it a thought and take a conscious decision, also when it comes to public system, like really, I think there are many great public schools out there, amazing teachers, amazing directors. Like, if you find a good one, and if you find a place there, that is the second thing. Then, and if you really look at your child, like, are they just pretending, or are they just following the crowd? Like, this is another thing, of course, right? Group pressure, peer pressure, especially when they get into the teenage phase. If you are doing, for example, homeschooling or unschooling, so many kids can't keep up the pressure of like, I'm so weird, I'm so different to the others. And if this is destroying their self-esteem, then that is not the best thing for them in that moment. Then I think it would be a lot better to prepare them to enter a public school and just send them to almost whatever public school, if they really need this um belonging in that moment. So it's really just also a thing about the phases of the life of the children. Like, it's definitely not from 1 year old to 18-year old for sure. This is the best one education form. This can really change with the age and also with the needs of your child.
Yeah, that's make it even more complex, but also beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
If you accept the fact that there are no perfect decisions, and that suffering is really the one thing that you want to avoid for your family. Like also in my point of view, the weakest family member is how the whole family is. Like, you can have, for example, 5 people of your family are thriving in the, for example, public school system, and in the normal, like, yeah, we all go to work from 9 to 5 and everything is great, but one family member is suffering a lot. They can't adapt to the timing, to the pressure. I remember also myself vomiting many times before going to school because it was just so early. It was cold. It was dark. I had to do everything on my own because my mom already left for work. And I was not aware of it at all. Like, I was not conscious about that this is maybe not a normal thing to throw up in the morning because you just feel so sick of the day already before even it started. And I think if you have that, then it's definitely a good thing to think,
Yes,
to
because if
rethink.
only one person in the family is not feeling well, then as a family you have to kind of reconsider all of your choices, right? And find the solution that works so that everybody is feeling.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to go into more details. You mentioned about, because I find it very interesting,
Mhm.
that you went through 14, was it? Different educational styles, basically. You want to quickly share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can share about that. So I had no idea when I started with alternative schooling in a way, because back in Berlin, let's say where it all started, we chose a Spanish kindergarten, and that was led by people from South America, and they were such free spirits, so loving people that I really learned from them how to deal with kids in general, because I was never having any contact to kids before having on my own kids. I was never having younger children in my family, or like no contact at all, really. So I had to kind of learn as a German a loving and caring form to connect to my own baby. And that was giving me so much, like such a new perspective on everything, like really how to raise children. I thought it was an incredible, beautiful place. And of course, kindergarten is not that long. So, and then I could just see, especially Germany, the strong difference between kindergarten and school. It is like within one school holidays, your whole life changes from being free and choosing. And like really, in kindergarten in Germany are amazing.
Yeah.
They are almost like free schools in a way. They just be like guided, but they're out almost the whole time. They're out in nature, and just really playfully getting some education as well, like and opportunity to learn lots of things. And then starts school, and like sit down, shut up, and and I just tell you, I just talk here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You are not anymore interacting here because I have too many kids at once. It's like 25, 30 kids at once at the age of 6. How can one adult be able to guide this group in a conscious, natural, individual way? Like, is no chance at all. So that was what we wanted to avoid, and then we were trying to yeah, to see through that universe out there. Like we chose first a Montessori school, and luckily we were having the strictest Montessori teacher I think out in the world. She was from Australia and was already a bit older and was entering new that school, and she was like, oh my god, on the timing, they like they were 3 years old, and she was like, now it's 1 minute to 12, all come in, sit down, we do now the clock, like we learn now the clock. And it's like but they were out playing, and like and being within one super cool thing in this moment, and then they had to stop it and come in, and it was like, yeah, now is the time for this, and now is the time for this. I think that is really the most horrible thing for our brain, to be forced to now go into this topic, now go to into that topic, even if we are maybe, like for example, let's say at school, like I was really also loving math at school, like I was just good at it, so yeah, let's go on, so maybe I would have even ended up doing something amazing with that, but it was only 2 hours per week or something, and very like yeah, put into that box on that pages in the book, not the other pages. Like we do not even look at them. This is not what we are studying now. So and you are not even allowed to go to that page, kind of like. So yeah, that was what I learned with Montessori. I know that there are many other different kinds out there now, but in that moment we stopped thinking about that model for a while. And then we went to Waldorf. That was even stricter. Like we went to a Waldorf that was just really like 100 years ago, exactly the form. They wanted to keep it exactly like that. And I loved in general the community vibe. Like you have all over the world more than 2,000 Waldorf schools, and even more similar to Waldorf approaches. So amazing kids who have been to Waldorf, they connect. I mean, they know. But I also learned that some kids feel very weird when they are visiting a Waldorf school, as for example, when they do it like 100 years ago, they are raised like kids 100 years ago. And they feel then in society a bit misplaced, kind of like what is, I don't know, like what is TV? I mean, like just kidding. That's like, they might not feel very prepared for the real world out there. And yeah, so we found out this is also not our approach. And then we tried a free school. That was definitely one of the also extremist free schools you can imagine. I think like kids could play with knives and with like unsupervised. They were running like crazy in the wild, being also like no adults around, like just be free, you know, like you know what you do. And I didn't feel safe leaving my kids there. So to the next one. Yeah, then it was also definitely we had some experiences with schools that were telling us they do 50-50 different languages, like for example Spanish and English. And then it turned out that it was only one Spanish dialect that they spoke, actually like 90% of the time. And the one English teacher was only coming once per week and was not even speaking any proper English, like was always also going into that Spanish dialect language, for example. So like I would have maybe even gone with it if I would have known before, but I felt like betrayed. Yeah, I was like not trusting that anymore, because then you don't know, like they tell you something, but they do it completely different. So how can you trust them at all then? And especially when you have younger kids, I think that is so important that the teacher, guides, accompagnantes, that they are honest, because the kids with 3-4 years old, they do not really tell you what happened. And if you can trust the teachers, then it's a very difficult thing. Then yeah, then we also had one school that I loved at some point, that was for the younger kids, amazing. They connected also well, and then clashed at some point, at some age. The other kids realized that our kids are foreigners, and they kind of didn't care before because they were just younger kids, you know. And then it 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 appeared like to them from one day to the other, kind of, that you're not normal in a way. Like I can just see that now. You look different. You speak a bit with an accent, and they really started bullying because they could also see, and your parents are also so different. And they were, we had the best 2 years there, really. And then it changed from one day to the other when kind of the preteen phase entered. And then we could also realize that as parents that this is an important thing also, that we are completely, not completely, I mean, you're never completely accepted by your whole environment, maybe, but that you feel safe and accepted in a way, like at least from the majority of the people. And I think that is really something also very important when you have a different color. For example, it is difficult to live in the outskirts of Berlin. It's incredible, but it is like this. You don't feel safe, and you have to consider that when you choose an environment, that you all can feel safe in that environment. And also, yeah, as a German background, it is easier in many places, but if there are already many Germans, then it's also, I feel even like an intruder there, and I don't want to be just another foreigner who is really changing the whole cultural landscape in that place, and especially not if that is the wish of the people who live there. So I think that is another aspect that many don't think about before they start to go abroad, especially. Like it feels like, we just go where the sun is shining, where it's a bit warmer, or we just go where there's a cool school system. But that you as a parent also would need to learn the language, and you, of course, like for me, it has never been a question, to be honest. Like I knew that, but I also know really the majority of families who go abroad, especially, they cannot even say hello, how are you, in the other language, or cannot even order a coffee. Like they're really just there to be in that world school bubble, or to be in that alternative project, or to use the public system that is nice, that appears nice to them. And then they go to that different country and they do not integrate at all. And I think that is really not because they are not nice people. That is because they are not aware of it. Like they do not think about it. Like that this is part of the deal. Kind of, you know? Yeah. And some other forms that I heard also from other families that I was not aware of, that exists, is a World School Hub. I think that is a really nice form. That is also something that Barefoot Hearts is drawing us to, is that you can have a project-based time, let's say from 2 weeks to 6 weeks, and you focus on a topic, and you bring kids together that are interested in that topic, and especially teenagers. Then that is such a beautiful form to connect with each other, and they can connect them very easily within a day. They form best friendships. Even like, this is my best friend now. And they can enjoy that moments together, and really learn something, going deep into that topic, being at a great place together. And and then they can even disconnect for a year, and then they come back after a year, and they just know each other already super well because they have been for 6 weeks together a year ago. And then they can still have kind of share their teenagehood together, and and always connect with a cool topic that is of interest. And that is for me something very beautiful. And you can go to, and then you can go to a different country without learning the language, without really adapting to the culture, I think, because then you're just there for like a longer holiday in a way, but you can still discover the country and be part of it for a while. Maybe even try to make it a better place in a way, like, I don't know, go to cleanups, or like try to find out what are they doing here to help nature and stuff, and be part of it in that moment. And then you can leave again, and it's like you just brought something good there and not use their system for your own good. This is really what is happening, I think, in many world school bubbles, that people do not pay taxes there. They just go there without learning the language. They pay whatever price for the housing. So also they destroy kind of um the local price system in a way, because for them it's like, ha, this is so cheap, like this is a joke almost, like, and then the locals, they really suffer because of that, and yeah, so I think consciousness doesn't end in a way where you choose the right school or the right educational system, but also when it comes to the whole family impact. Also, what impact do you have to that community? And I think when you just think it once through, what is a big thing, maybe, but it can also be done really within some questions. You just ask yourself these basic questions, and then you already have like the main job done. Really, but it is hard to ask yourself honestly some questions that go deep. Yeah, but usually you know the answer within a second, if you're honest. And if not, if you put all of your filters on it, then it becomes complex and difficult. And
Yeah.
I think it's just beautiful that we have that many options out there now. And the World School Hubs is one thing I really love. And then there is also now a new form of education out there that is with AI or also online schooling combined. And I think it's a great opportunity. It is not really the most ideal situation, I think, but it is a form that you can give one child very individual in their own like speed, like
Yeah. No, rhythm.
yeah, and their rhythm, really, the education blocks also that belong on each other, because it's difficult in math if you first learn this, then you learn this, then you learn this, like then it gets difficult. You need to kind of go block by block, like, and as long as you take for this block, it doesn't matter, even if it's 2 years, then you go to the next one, then you go to the next one. And I think this is with many topics possible. Like, don't maybe start with the climate change, what is like a huge topic. Maybe first learn different blocks and then you can go there. And I think it's an amazing way to be able to do it with the online schooling. And then you have hubs for that specific online school. It's, for example, BGA is out there, is Best Generation Academy. They have like all over the world hubs, and you can, wherever you are, follow your own schedule, and then you can go to wherever you want to the hubs and connect with real people, and also have a guide there who can like review your schedule, because it's not only the online schools, also do you do surfing or aikido or taekwondo or a knitting club or whatever, that also is forming your whole life, right? Like, and to become conscious about how much energy, how many hours do I want to spend with one topic. It's really beautiful, right?
Yeah.
There's also out there already since more than 20 years. It's called Clone Lara. They have one present school in the US, and then now they are forming another one in Portugal at the moment. And they have the approach that is so beautiful, I think, to kind of put the life that you are living into grades and subjects. So whatever you do, let's imagine you go out for a walk in the morning, 1 hour at the beach. Then you go home and do some cooking. And then you measure, you cook for 10 people. Then you meet up with a friend and you want to prepare a presentation for some other friends because you have that meetup planned where everyone is sharing some knowledge about their passions. Then you go in the afternoon to the skate park and then you have a friends meetup in the night. And this you can put into, I did here some math, I did there some sports, like the walking was sport, the cooking was a lot of math because I had to recalculate the whole menu. And I had to measure how much do I have to buy, how many potatoes and stuff like that. Then you had the presentation that was the topic, yeah, showing up. I don't know, like you can even form your own subject. So you have like basic subjects, 6, I think, and then you can add up to 30 subjects and you get grades in it from yourself and from a person that can really prove in a way, like for example, your Aikido teacher can prove they showed up, they have been on time, they really took it seriously. Like I give them this grade, you know. And this counts in the end as a high school degree. And you can enter even universities with that, like with a high school degree, even with the next level, with the A level. It's like there has been just recently in France someone entering a normal university with that degree, with that certification. So I think really this is the thing. This will change now. I know every month I get to know new education forms and how they did it and how they ended up doing that. I know especially from that Clone Lara approach. I know one family, like it was just the mom with her son, and he decided at the age of 12 that he doesn't want to go to that free school that he used to go anymore. So he spent until 18 almost like all the time just chillaxing, let's say, how you would call it maybe. And he was then becoming aware of the fact that he really, really is interested in becoming a paramedic. And he was then trying to find out how can I get that job. And he was going to an evening school, it's called. And then he was getting his first degree, like the high school degree kind of. And then he was thinking this is so easy. He was just doing also his A levels and he still thought this was so easy. Then he just decided to go straight and study medicine. And now he is 27 and he is almost done and is working as a doctor already. So I think really you will never lose any opportunity, whatever form you choose.
And there's also this fear that you need to learn in those ages those things. But I mean, as adults, we're still learning. And when we want to learn something, we just learn. So there's so much pressure to do it at the right moment. But yeah, we're always learning. We can always learn, and so do our children when they grow up. So yeah.
Yeah, it's never too late. Really never. And I also know, yeah, from my family, like the story that someone made a real big career with working with horses and doing races, and then all of that kind of dropped down in Germany. So there was no more money, no more races, no more, like no one was interested in that sport, luckily anymore, because I really didn't like that sport anyway, because in my opinion, the horses really suffered in that sport. But yeah, so this one had to go on a complete different career after being 40 years old already. So and was suffering so much during that time, but now has a great job repairing lifts and ascensores, like and and he loves the job, he loves the timings, he earns a lot more money. It's like he's even happier, but he would have never changed without that opportunity, let's say, because of the first career didn't work out anymore, wasn't making any more sense. So I think we're always able to go on a complete different path. So we are also able to do that for our first path. We don't need to be a doctor by the age of 18. No one can do that. Like, why the stress? And we all know that this leads to burnout anyway. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big topic.
It is. It's great. I think that we have that opportunities and that we also can choose consciously what we choose. It doesn't matter, like, but do it consciously, not just because a system is asking us to
Yeah.
do that. Because
Yeah.
there are more opportunities
Yeah, to
out
look
there.
into yourself, to look at your own like family and make the decisions that way, not just of what is expected or what is normal or what is
Yeah, there's no more normal out
there's
there.
no-
It's the beauty of it. Like, we are all now allowed to really live what we are here for, maybe.
yeah. And freedom can be scary for some. For most,
Yeah.
when we were raised in a very follow the rules and everything kind of.
Yes, and I understand. And I think it's a step-by-step thing. You
Yeah.
can never be raised in this form of system that most of us have been raised, and then just go to 100% freedom. Like, okay, now I choose whatever I want. It's a really slow process for most of us, and it can take all of our lives, I think, to really know I'm even allowed to do that. Like, sometimes I have like realizations about, but I can choose that. And then it's like, but why was I not aware of the fact that I can choose this too? Like, I choose already so many things, really, and I connect with myself and meditate, and then with something very, very on the surface, it's like, why was I aware of the fact? Like, I was never thinking that I'm allowed to choose too. So
The big learning process. That part of the big learning process.
yeah, and it's fine. I think it's really no shame, no blame about any decision that we take. Like, we always have a good reason in that moment to take that decision.
I think that's a good ending point.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was really nice to hear about all of that. And I think we could do many more podcasts. There's so much to talk about. And I'll be sharing some links in the description box that we can share about your work and people can find you as well.
Okay.
And thank you so much
Yeah,
for
thank
this
you.
time with us here and sharing about your experience and the work you're now gonna do with families helping them. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you too. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Do 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 do.